I do.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Make it PG for the kiddos.
Probably no one's going to show up because we canceled last week.
Piece of shit.
Oh, you suck. How dare you have a real job?
No, no.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, punctual. I like it. Sam stuff.
Hello.
Springs, what's going on? We'll give everybody a minute or two to trickle in here.
Absolutely. We're excited. Who are you?
I'm the man.
So everybody remembers June 11th, 1997 was Jordan's flu game. Tonight is my flu game. I'm deathly sick from food poisoning, but I'm here because we were going to cancel 2 weeks in a row.
Shouldn't have canceled last week.
I should have done it by myself.
You should have persevered without me.
I should have done it alone, but I didn't want. It's not.
What's
the
going
same
on,
without
OSU
Jeremy.
cards?
All right. So
I'll let you do the intro because you guys have already done work together.
Yes.
And I'm just going to bring the whole thing down.
You're not. So I'm really excited to have Sam on. Most of you know her as the host of Women of the Hobby. She has both a podcast and a YouTube channel, and if you don't, you should definitely be following her. We'll link everything in the comments, and then when we upload this to YouTube, if I ever become good at uploading things to YouTube again, that's my bad. It will all be linked there as well. We've been kind of a disaster lately. So, she is here tonight. We're going to discuss, obviously, podcasting and YouTubing with hobby content and what that entails and what it takes and why and how she got started. So we're really excited to see. I know you only get to see half of Jeremy's face. So we're really excited to get started, and I think we'll just have her jump right on, and we can kind of get started.
Drake, the moment I knew that you popped the thing that I thought you were, I knew that was coming. We're going to do a late night Thursday edition with you, or Wednesday night, or whatever it is.
We're going to have a week where we have 2 hobby night schools in 1 week to make up for what happened with Drake last week, because we were real.
But enough about him. Who cares? We got the
lovely Sam here from Sam Stuff. How are you this evening? This is late for you, right?
Yeah, well, it's like 9, so it's not too late. It's earlier than sometimes like previous things that I've done, so it's pretty early in that
No,
respect.
it's definitely too late because at like 9 o'clock at night you shouldn't be drinking coffee to make it through, which we typically do. So it's definitely late. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, so how have you been? You've had a good week, I hope.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Honestly, yeah, just work things are a bit busier, so I've kind of been lacking here on my end as well with not being as consistent. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good overall.
It's hard. It's a hobby, but it's consuming, especially when you start to build a little bit of a platform and you have people like, where have you been? What are you doing? So you understand the pressures. There's pressure when it comes to that. So
Yeah, definitely. But I just heard that, you have food poisoning, or you had food poisoning, which is terrible.
yeah, no, I'm better today. I'm just like, like when you don't feel good and then like your first day feeling like halfway normal, that's today. So I'm definitely fine.
Yeah.
I was just teasing. I made my Jordan reference, right?
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. So.
Before we get started, I'm just going to say from the lens of a male in the hobby, truly awesome what you've been doing. And, I don't think we stop enough to, look out for one another and say, hey, good job, or we appreciate what you do. And I'm guilty of that. I'm always on the road, but I consume hobby content like a fiend. And so listening to some of the interviews and then like listening, because I love the education piece of the hobby, what you've done on your channel or show has been, pretty badass. And so before we get into all this, because you and Courtney have already talked, and so I know I'm going to get phased out. Courtney's like hip checking me off the screen. But from one half of Reckless Cards and as a male in the hobby, kudos to you. And what you've done has been pretty awesome.
I agree. Obviously, I think what you're doing is so dope.
The rest that comes out of my mouth is probably downhill from there, but I just want you to start on a good foot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I really appreciate that. It's like comments like that and the support that, it really goes a long way in terms of, just keeping the drive and the motivation to, keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, It's great. It's great. I love it. So why don't you talk a little bit to start, like, introduce yourself? Obviously, we all know you, but maybe there's some people on here that don't know what you're up to, and just sort of like how you got into the hobby and what you're doing in the hobby.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm Sam. This is my personal card account. So this is Sam Stuff 25. But I do have another account in kind of podcast, YouTube channel. It's kind of a combo of both there, but with women of the hobby. And really what that account is striving to do is just kind of showcase other women in the hobby, really highlight their story, what they collect, just kind of showcasing the women, which I think a majority of people would agree there are not a lot of women on the hobby. It's obviously a bit of a minority in terms of percentage wise, but I think that percentage is growing, and really that account is to try and get more and other women involved throughout. So that's kind of more about women of the hobby, but I actually got into collecting, or got into collecting around the same time a lot of people did, which is around COVID. So that's kind of where I kicked back off around that time frame, was in it for a little while, really enjoyed it and still enjoy it, and then created Women of the Hobby. So it's kind of become its own kind of, time consumption in that way as well.
I think it's awesome because we have a 15-year-old daughter who is obviously impressionable, and social media is like a very important part of her life. It's not everything, but we would be naive to think that she's not influenced by that. So when she sees mom and dad doing it, but then she sees there's alternative content where it's driven by all females, it makes her feel like, hey, I know I kind of want to do this, but it's accepted by others, and it's cool, and there's other people out there who are like-minded like me. So I think it's there might not be an immediate ROI, whether it's you monetize the channel or it's likes or comments, but it's had an impact on our house at least.
It definitely has. There's like for every person, adult woman who's like, oh, this is cool. There's like hundreds of little girls that are looking at stuff online and saying like, oh, well, I like this and so do they. So that's cool that it's cool, So I think that's neat.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of agree that that's kind of my mindset. As a child, I also was kind of a bit shy and timid. And yeah, if I went to something or was involved in something and didn't really see other women or older women involved, I might be like, I don't know, just kind of, you are impressionable when you're young. So it definitely makes sense.
I think it's good too we've got a 14-year-old son, and he's watched Women of the Hobby, and I think it's just cool because I think he needs that. I think it's important that it's just not white guys with cards, like that there's other people, there's other races, there's other religions, there's other people partaking. So like, I don't want to just say, oh, because we have a daughter, like our son watches it too. And
absolutely,
the quality of what's in it is really what they gravitate towards. And it just so happens that you are a female, which makes it, doubly better.
It'd be super weird if it was Women of the Hobby run by
dudes.
Yeah.
That would be a white man thing to do. That would be the most white man thing to do. All right, we're going to do Women of the Hobby as told by white men.
I can see that. Like, it's really not that far-fetched.
Oh, no, it's not, which is why it's so funny. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I think we should just dive right in, because with the way that it's so cool when Sam does her interview, she's like, no, we'll just talk, and you just end up talking. And with us, when we do this, which, by the way, when we get into editing, I wanted to apologize in advance for probably all of the editing you had to do with me, because I talk constantly. So I guess you sort of discussed why you started your podcast, but did you always want to do a podcast or a YouTube channel, and this just opportunity presented itself, or you saw that there was a need for this and that's why you did it?
Yeah, I think I definitely saw that there was a need for it. I didn't really know what the formatting or the output would be of what I was thinking of, but I was more so just thinking of some sort of go-to or landing page, some sort of platform for a group of women or women in the hobby really to kind of connect and get to know each other. And so that's kind of my initial starting point. What Women of the Hobby is a play off of is actually Humans of New York. I don't know if you're familiar.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of originally what I'd started was maybe just doing Instagram posts of highlighting different women and things like that. Then obviously I began to get into more of just like interviewing women and hearing their stories in a video format. So that's how it initially took place. And then, yeah, at first I think the only thing I knew to post it on was YouTube. I'm like, I'm not sure, like people, I don't really know, like, the percentage of listeners to podcasts, even though I think a lot of people are starting to listen to more podcasts in general. So I was just like, I'll post it on YouTube and just like see it and go from there. And that was originally how I started it off.
You said you were shy and timid. What was the
Yeah.
driving force for actually taking that step?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's just taking that action that leads to, the success that you're having.
Yeah, so I think initially the only thing that I was like, I had, thought about the idea for like a month, 2 months or so. Was like, I really don't know if this is like a commitment I really want to go forth. And I think what I really need to see was someone else doing it. So I saw she collects cards. For some reason, it took me like within, I don't know, I guess I was in the hobby for 8 months at that time before I even found her channel. I didn't know that she made content. I didn't know there was another female sports card person out there making content. So that was kind of the push that I think I needed, was saying, okay, there's another female out there doing this. Like, I won't be the sole one. I'm not going to be the only one out here. And that was like a really big push for me to go ahead and just get everything in line to do what I'm doing. But yeah, I agree. Going out, and I am like a very much like an introvert in real life and on here as well. I think some people can probably tell, but yeah, so that was a big jump for me to go out there and kind of post all of that online and do the interviews. So
Yeah, because you're really putting yourself out there. That's how I feel all the time. Like it can be intimidating for sure. You have to like have that drive, I think. So you said you started with YouTube first, and then you moved to the podcast, and that was just out of seeing how it would go, or you just
yeah.
were like, well, I'm doing this, I might as well do that.
Yeah, so I think I just really had to, like, there's a learning curve. Like, right when I got into sports cards, there was a learning curve for me to get in and realize, there are all of these different aspects of it. And I think it's the same with the YouTube and content creating in general. Was, I didn't really know. I had to research, okay, what platforms can I make podcasts on? How do I distribute it? That type of thing. So just doing a little bit of research, I actually found out it was a lot easier than I had anticipated. So now I just kind of do it. I don't think I have as many listeners on the podcast form. It's probably like 2-to-1 YouTube to podcast in terms of viewership. But I still do it just because, it's kind of with the podcasting too, it's easier for me to see, like, there are people, like the breakdown of male and female. I know you can do that on YouTube too, but the system that I use, it's very easy to just tell that. So it's cool to see like that breakdown, and then also the other listeners in like different countries and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was your viewership versus YouTube versus the podcast. So how much longer were you doing YouTube before you started the podcast?
I really can't recall if I think I made like probably the first couple of episodes on YouTube, and then I realized, oh, I can just use this audio and post it out to a lot of different podcasting formats. And so I would say I probably only did like the first or second episode before I realized, oh, I want to go back and make these podcasts, and then just like posting them at that time as well.
That's awesome. That's super cool, because I know one of the questions we got was, how do you turn your YouTube audio into podcast form? Is there like a special software or something, or does YouTube just automatically do that for you?
Yeah, so what I do, and I honestly think I do this probably a little bit differently than most people, but I don't think everyone does it the same way anyways, but what I normally do is I record in like Zoom, and I get that video file, and then I post that video file after editing it onto YouTube. But the file that I edit and export out of iMovie, I actually still use old iMovie. That's what I'm familiar with. Well, the platform that I use is Anchor for podcasting, and Anchor will actually allow me to upload a video clip, and it will extract the audio on its own, which is very nice.
That's nice. Oh, I didn't know that. So we actually talked about taking some of these hobby night schools and putting them in podcast form, because a lot of times, like, we're not doing anything that's
right.
Watching, so people might actually like to listen to them too. So that's cool. Because that's just another thing that we eventually plan on hopefully doing. So that was cool. you know.
I,
So besides Anchor, what other software do you think is important to have with what you're doing?
yeah, with what I'm doing, I mean, I use Zoom. I know, I think a couple people use Zoom, but I know a lot of people use StreamYard. So essentially just some sort of video, recording source. It could even be here like Instagram Live, like you all are doing. So just some source that will record your video that you're making and as well as your audio. I think that's the number one step there. And then if you want, I know some people more just like of an authentic conversation, but if there are different topics or things like that that you want to hit, definitely editing software. Again, I mentioned I have iMovie. That's just because I have like a very old Mac and it still works, so I'm just thankful that it's clicking and moving along. So that's the software that I use. And then beyond that, the one thing that has come in handy a lot in terms of maybe not the podcasting, but just kind of maybe the marketing aspect more so, is I use Canva to make a lot of my Instagram templates and just kind of promotions for the different videos or episodes that I'm doing. So it's very helpful. And I purchased like a whole year membership this time last year, and I've used every penny of it. So it's definitely worth it.
That's awesome. We use PixArt, but everybody constantly is telling me about Canva, so I might have to switch over.
Yeah, I love how consistent everything looks on your page. I think it's like a real sharp professional look.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. And
Thank
I think
you.
that
Yeah.
like we talked about, branding yourself is so important.
Yeah.
And like consistency with your branding and your logo and your coloring and everything. Once you like determine that and you're gonna do it across multiple platforms, it's just really important. And I think you're doing it phenomenally well. So
Yeah, thank you. I know I can tell that with you all too, though, kind of with the branding that you have with Reckless Cards. I mean, when you see that logo, it's like you automatically know who it is. So I think that's a key thing in terms of, putting yourself out there and having that brand recognition.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So you've got the software, you've got the iMac or the MacBook that's still clicking. And Courtney was talking to Grippa shit about Macs earlier.
I have an old Mac. I have an old MacBook.
We've got a MacBook Pro that we use for printing, and then we've got the iMac.
Yeah, it's like I had it charged all day, and we're doing the giveaway for the gem directly after this live. So I had loaded everything up into the random.org, and he was like, "Oh, aren't you going to charge that?" I'm like, "Well, it was charging all day. It should be." Because you never know. And I'm like, "You're right."
Better safe than sorry.
So
you've got the software, you've got the hardware. How has the process been reaching out to people and getting them on? Because I would imagine that takes a bit of, are they going to receive my message well? Are they going to respond? Are they going to ignore me? Because when we first started reaching out to people, that was like agonizing, because I'm kind of the same way.
Turn us down. We have people say no.
People basically go tell you, go F yourself.
Yeah.
Like when they put you on scene and then they don't just ever respond, they're like, that's the worst feeling.
My favorite, and this is so petty, and I don't mean to be petty. I had one person who I reached out to a long time ago when we were first doing the Hobby Night School. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to, we're starting this up. Would you like to be like our initial person?" And they were like, "Do you have any other interviews?" I'm like, "No, I literally just told you this was our first one." And they're like, they just like basically ghosted me, and I was like, okay, so obviously they're not interested.
It's card score, and I don't care. I'll put them on blast. They're dead to me.
So like now I'm waiting for us to get like big enough that they reach out, because it's gonna happen.
No, and so like Sam, our thing is like we're fortunate enough that we have like a tiny bit of disposable income, so we like to try different things. We like to make mistakes and then share that with people. So Card Score was this new thing that came out. And you and Courtney already talked about the HGA thing. So Card Score came out, and we're like, we're going to try it. So we went and spent like $200 videotaping us, going through the whole process. They're like, yeah, we're good. And then like in the 11th hour, they went dark on us. And so it was like, not even like, hey, we appreciate you reaching out. We like what you're trying to do, but we're going to pass. It was like, they just went unresponsive. Wow. So thumbs down from me. Dead to me.
But like, have you had experiences like that, or has everyone been really, really well receiving of it?
No, she's professional. They're like, yeah, we'll jump on your show, not Jeremy and Courtney.
I've asked a couple people. I would say most people that I reach out to say yes, but I have had a couple people where either it's a conflict of interest with their work, so they're in the card industry and they like don't think it would work out with work and things. And then I've also just had, some people who just like, yeah, it's just not their thing. I don't think they're ready to like put themselves out there and kind of promote themselves in that way, which I completely understand. Honestly, if someone reached out to me before I'd even started all of this, I might be like, oh, I don't know, like it's not really me. But because I'm the one running it, I'm like, please come on, you know. But yeah, I don't think I've had too many issues. I personally need to get better at sticking to the schedule that I set with people because I too often find that I have like, I think I'm going to be free at that time on that day. And then honestly, something comes up and I'm like, I am so sorry, I cannot do it today. Like, is there any time you're free later? So I think I have to do a better job of making myself more available when I say I am. So that's kind of one thing on me.
Hence the 9 o'clock time for us because the kids are home.
Yeah.
They should be in bed, and I should typically be home from work. So that's kind of like, otherwise, I would
Yes.
prefer to do it early in the day, knock it out, and be done.
That is, we had tried other times for other things, and we have found that like 9 o'clock on like Wednesdays, all the kids' stuff is done, and you know, for the most part, they're in bed, and he's usually home from work. So we've
Yeah.
actually, it's been so funny. He now will sometimes book his work schedule around Wednesday nights where he's like not going to be traveling. So it's so funny. It's so funny. It's so dumb how like important that these things become to you. It's like it becomes like something that's incredibly, you know, important part of your, you know, the greater part of your life. So it is. I mean, we had to cancel our first hobby night school ever last week. So, and when you do them live like that, like you're smart.
We canceled it because Drake's PC, and compared to you, like I wasn't even like my mind wasn't in it. I was just like, I want to get to Women of the Hobby. We'll circle back. We'll get Drake some other time. I just wasn't going to give it 100%, 110%. And local card collector, exactly. You don't know who the hell they are because we're not talking to them.
Stop. All right. So
you've got the equipment, you've got the software, you've reached out to the people. I don't know what your background is prior to cards, but if you're introverted like myself, you're probably not out doing public speaking or interviewing. Talk about the interview process or how you find rapport with whoever you're talking about to make it, because I'm sure you're critical of yourself. We are like, hey, would you want to listen to that? And the first 50 times you'd be like, I wouldn't want to listen to me. So
Yeah.
like, how did you develop into what your show is now?
Yeah, oh, I definitely relate to the like, I don't like, I have this thing too, honestly, I don't enjoy editing because sometimes I like just don't want to go back and hear what I said. I'm like, oh, I don't want to like hear myself really. Yeah, in terms of the interviewing skills, yeah, obviously that's not my background. I don't interview or, you know, I'm not an HR or something, but um, I think that was one of the scarier things, as I said, as an introvert is, am I going to be able to like make conversation with this person? Because in general, that is, Courtney mentioned it, that's kind of like how mine go. It's just more like free flowing. This is just going to be a conversation. We're just going to talk about, you know, the hobby, and that's worked out. Luckily, so far, I haven't had anything that's like, you know, oh, I can't get through this conversation or anything. It's all been really good, and I think that's just, you know, a testament to the people and the guests that have been on. But yeah, it was a little intimidating at first. Was, am I going to be able to like hold a conversation? Like, what are we going to talk about? But then you also think the whole root of all of this is the hobby. So of course, there's going to be tons of things to talk about, no matter like who they are or if you know them beforehand or not.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It is. It's like a conversation. So, like, when you got into this, you know, there's tons of different hobby content, right? And you decided you wanted to do an interview. What are some of the other types of content that you watch or listen to within the hobby that you like?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say it's kind of changed from, you know, through different stages of how long I've been in, honestly. So when I first got in, something that I really enjoyed watching were like box breaks or really box breaks. I was just trying to see what was in different products because at that time I was trying to, you know, get different product and open it. But then as time went on, I felt like there was a very hype period of the card show vlogs where you felt like you were at the show. So that was something that I really enjoyed, was watching all of those different vlogs and things like that. And then now I'd say I more so just watch more of like kind of like the newsy topics within the hobby. Um, I really like Neo Cards and Comics. I feel like his channel always has like a good kind of daily update of what's going on and different things like that. So I like his channel. But yeah, it's definitely changed. And then kind of another thing that I can get into, it depends on if I'm focused, because this is kind of something you have to like, as you're saying, you have to actually watch the video, is like PSA reveals or different things like that. I think can be interesting to see what all people sent in, what they got back, and those types of items.
I don't know if Shay's on, but Shay and Putnam Cards had a show for a little while that I thought was a mix of education, but then like Shay's like a wild person, and like so it brought like a true entertainment value, and it made it like realistic, because in my like sometimes I watch stuff or listen to something and everybody's trying to be too prim and proper, and it's like I've never once, like me, Courtney, and our friends come over and we have a couple of adult drinks and open some cards, and it's not prim and proper. It's like a group of friends hanging out, having a good time, you know, razzing on somebody. And so like I'm kind of drawn to that sort of content where there's some value, whether it's education, talking about hobby news, people sharing experiences, but also being like real.
Which I think is why it's so nice with hers, because it's literally you're just talking about an individual's experience in the hobby, which I think is genuinely awesome to watch too. So is it Local Card Collector wants to know who your favorite YouTube content creator is?
If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
That's obviously a bit of the hobby. It's the best on there.
I thought about something having to do with that earlier, because I don't like my own Instagram pictures, and I was like, I have to be my biggest self-advocate here. Like, I have to like, I mean, there's a certain thing about liking your own pictures, but if you don't like it, yeah, who will? But no, as I mentioned, I most consistently, just because I feel like even if, you know, I'm away for a day or two from the hobby, or just whatever is happening, I feel like the one that I listen to the most consistently, and someone who posts consistently too, I think that's also kind of, you know, does this content creator post once a week? Do they post once every 2 weeks? That type of thing. I do like Neo Cards and Comics. I've met him in person too. We've met at the National, and he's a really good guy. And so I like his content a lot, just because I feel like just like that 10-minute news clip that I need in the morning to hear, okay, what's happening with all of this stuff. So I really enjoy that as a good content creator, for sure.
That's awesome. I agree. I like Neil. I also like Luca's and Stacking Slabs are probably the two I consume the most.
I think Pac-Man does a great job on YouTube if you want to learn about a new product, because he has it like 3 days before everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's breaking it, and so like, you know, he kind of shows you what like pack odds are if they have them listed, or what's inside the box. And so from that, you know, Pac-Man would consume his stuff, you know, so you have to honorable mention.
Yeah, for sure. There's just so many. It would be hard to just be like, oh, this one. So let's go back a little bit. So with your podcast, what you're doing and your YouTube is you have someone call up, you record the Zoom, and then you upload it to YouTube, and so a lot of people are asking equipment and stuff.
Oh, we'd be terrible people. The great curator is incredible.
Oh yeah. The
great curator does awesome stuff. It's entertaining and it's informative. So.
Yes, and like people are sleeping on his TikTok. His TikTok is fantastic too. So a tangent that we always go on is we just randomly say. So a lot of people were asking about equipment. And you, with what you're doing, it doesn't seem like you need a ton of equipment for that. Like you're not getting microphones and doing all of that kind of stuff.
No, I think a lot of that too, it's like, yeah, like because I'm not doing like a vlog where I need like a camera, I guess I could use my phone, but that's a lot in and of itself. So yeah, I just have my computer, I just record off the computer camera. It may not be the highest quality, but you know, it's the effort that counts, I think, there. So I do have like the ring lights. I feel like a lot of people have those now for multiple reasons, whether it be through just plain work, you know, working from home and things like that. So I have that, and then that's really about it. I do have like, for the National, I did buy like a portable microphone just because I wasn't sure like on the show floor if you would be able to pick up any audio. So I used that for the first time, and it turned out pretty well. I actually think it helped, but it was my first time using it, and that was kind of stressful in and of itself, but I figured it out. So I don't have too much equipment. No, the one thing that I did have to do is, you know, since I've been making these episodes, is, as I mentioned, I have an old Mac, and there's not a lot of storage on it, so I had to like just get a hard drive to store a lot of the files and videos on, because I had like no storage on this computer.
Yeah, we had to do the exact same thing. And for us, because we do we've done box openings, we do product review on our YouTube channel, and we do like reveals and stuff. So we ended up getting we use our phone to record ours, and I know a lot of people have cameras and they do all that. We record right from our iPhone. I actually talked Jeremy into upgrading my iPhone to like the newest model. I'm like, we need it for YouTube. So we have an iPhone, and then I got a splicer where we can put two like headphone microphones in it, and then that's it. And we have the ring light and our MacBook and our iMac, and that's how we record ours. And I know we used to have a podcast, and we had tons of fancy equipment and microphones and all of that stuff. And this is not card related, but it got expensive, and he'll argue and be really crappy about this, but I don't think that the quality was like significantly better, that it was necessarily worth it when you're first starting out. If you want to try this, like, to go out and buy the best of everything, like see how it goes first before you invest.
So I was editing the videos, and the old MacBook was running out of storage, and it would just like stop. My day would come to a screeching halt. And so like one Sunday morning, I was drinking my coffee and I lost my damn mind. I said, you know what, to hell with this thing. Went on to apple.com, ordered an iMac, and then like, 2 days later, a $3,500 computer showed up, and I like gave me peace of mind. And so what I'm saying is my health and well-being, greater sign spending a couple of dollars.
So we did buy the MacBook for Reckless cards, so that was nice because now we can
iMac.
Yes, sorry, so we can write it off on our taxes for the Reckless business. But I guess my point before my husband interrupted me was like, when you're first starting out, I don't think it's necessary to go out and buy the most expensive of everything. And a lot of this stuff, and people don't realize, I think that's a huge step that people are afraid to take, because they think that you need all of this equipment to have a podcast or a YouTube channel. If you have something interesting to say, or you have something you think people would like to hear, and the thing that's holding you back is, I can't afford all of this equipment, you can do it with your phone. Like,
you're
from Luca, they've done like 500 episodes, and he's done them all from his cell phone.
Yeah, I think he uses like his like earpods or like his microphone from his headphones. Yeah, I think I heard him like on the episode talk about, my earbud.
All the time.
All the time.
And if you're a good person, or you've got something interesting to say, people will work through whatever shortcoming. Nobody gives a shit or cares what kind of computer it was made on. They don't even know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. I think the overall messaging and content of itself, not the quality of it, but just the content of what you're saying is good. Yeah, that people will follow and they'll like you for you anyways. But no,
you're a little more authentic too.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody has $1 million in a studio to make hobby content. We're all working, trying to make it in this world. So what the hell? Yeah,
it's less of like a production than just like a community. It seems like more like a community, like effort. I feel like when it's less production-y with all the, the showbiz, I guess.
That's actually, and local card collector has a good point. As you build your community, and if your page does well and you end up like being able to monetize it, then you can upgrade your equipment that way. Or if it becomes something where you want to invest more time and money into it, then you can. But like, don't let yourself be stopped from doing something that's interesting or that you want to do just out of fear of like, all I have is my cell phone and my earpods, because you could definitely do it with that. Like, there's plenty of, like you said, iMovie is right on my cell phone. Like, I can edit it from my cell phone and upload it to YouTube if I have. There's an episode where I did like a true crime episode because Jeremy was traveling and we were trying to upload things. So I recorded one from my phone all by myself, edited it all by myself, and posted it all by myself, from my phone. I did not use the computer because he's way more savvy with that kind of stuff than I am. So you can do it if you want to.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think there are a lot of tools, like you said. If you have an iPhone, the newer ones, you have the iMovie app there as well. So yeah, I think there's a will, there's a way, and you can get it done.
So let me ask you this. I'm actually pretty curious about this, and we try to be as positive. We don't bring people down. We want to build the community up. We want it to be a great place for everybody. you've talked about all these things you're doing from cradle to grave, right?
Mhm.
And you've already said like, hey, I'm not the most outgoing person, which I can relate to. How do you handle criticism if you ever get it? Because I know sometimes we'll do something and we're like, we have the best intentions and we mean well from our heart, and somebody will just come across and say something or do something that makes you want to be like, you know what? To hell with all this, I'm done. And maybe that is just me. Maybe that's a Jeremy thing, but I'm sure other people deal with it. And I would imagine a female probably has to like validate herself, or like probably catches it like something that they wouldn't say to a dude. Like, if that happens, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. I don't think, fortunately, I don't know if this is because I'm not big enough, but I don't think I've received anything directly from the page. Luckily, everything's been very supportive. Like, I've never received negative messages, but I have been on live streams before with other people on, YouTube or whatever the live stream platform is. And yeah, there are some comments that I see there and I'm like, that's not really my favorite comment there. So yeah, I think it when you first receive it, it's kind of very hard to internalize, just because you're like, someone doesn't like me, like, you just, everyone, I'm definitely kind of that person where I just like, I kind of do take an issue if people don't like me or things like that. I just want to know like why. So yeah, that can be kind of hard. And when it first happened, I was like, what the heck? Like, why would you even say that? But I think it's just kind of a realization that, yeah, when you do put yourself out there, you are kind of putting yourself, in a vulnerable spot. People can be there to say what they want. That's the perk of the internet, is you can kind of hide behind it. So I think just recognizing that, they would never say that in real life to me in person. Like, I 100% believe no one would say those types of things in person. So just kind of moving on from it and just realizing, it's going to continue to happen. It's not the first time, not the last time type of thing, and just trying to move forward with it. But yeah, it is kind of hard at first when you're like, what the heck? Like, what is, people don't like this? Like, so,
Sure.
yeah, like, what the heck? Like, why would you not? Like, am I doing something?
It's always live too. We've had comments
Yeah.
like on YouTube or something, and it's whatever.
Yeah.
We'll take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But we'll be doing something like we're doing a free box break, and somebody will say something, and it's like, it's always her or me. It's like the day just comes to a screeching halt. And it's like I'm like, it's okay. Okay.
And so it's gotten better. Like when we first started, and we would get things like that HGA video that we talked about in our thing. If you go, I never took that video down. If you go and read the comment section of that video, it is a dumpster fire. People said horrible, mean things, and not about HGA, but about me and Jeremy. And I remember that was the first video we had where people commented anything ever.
Oh, we always get the 4 or 5. Hey, good job,
Hey,
nice,
like,
well done.
Like people came from Instagram who already we know liked us. So, but it was like a lot of people that didn't know us or know anything about us, and they got on there and they said like horrible, hateful, mean things. And I remember being like, oh, I can't do this. I am done right now. And you know what? We didn't walk away. We kept making videos, and you still get comments like that occasionally, but I've gotten better at like not like taking it personally, because also like my face wasn't even in that video. Like, where are these people saying these mean things about me? They don't even know me. Yeah. So I like, it was a rude awakening. So that is something I think that if you're planning on starting something like this, like really like be aware of like, you're gonna have people say things that are not nice. Like in the hobby, a lot of times people are really nice, but a lot of times they aren't. And I think if you're gonna put yourself out there, that is a big thing that like you should just prepare yourself for like the trolls.
I will add though, the more you do it, the more people get to know you, and the more they look out for you, and that stuff's not tolerated. And I know one thing Courtney preaches in our household, not only to myself but to our kids, is holding other people accountable when they do something that's unacceptable. And we've found, as we've built our little community, that if somebody comes in and acts stupid, it's just not tolerated.
Yeah,
and it's happening less and less and less, and you learn that like, hey, there are some really good people out there.
Oh, for sure. But we just don't tolerate people being rude. I'm not here for that. We're just like happy, positive thing. But that is something that I think is important that people know. If you're gonna do a podcast or something, there's gonna be people saying things that maybe you don't like. So
yeah,
it hurts my feelings.
Well, And I agree too, like it may not always come in the beginning. Like as you say, you could be posting, making content for a while and then something blows up and they're like, hey, like I don't, just like then all of a sudden they see you and they're like just making rude comments, which I don't think are necessary. But I think, they really are trolls. And the hobby, as nice as it is, there are some very strong personalities in general in the hobby, I think, with very strong opinions. So people can kind of butt heads, but, just let that be where it is. But yeah, I'm fine just staying on my little happy trail and going that way.
I agree. See, that's the way you gotta be. It's, it's so funny. So I guess we've kind of covered everything. Do you have any advice for aspiring podcast, YouTube channel people that you think that is important that they know?
Yeah, I think the advice that I have is, I think one thing that I kind of did before, obviously I kind of talked about how I had the idea for a couple of months and really kind of worked through just like, maybe how I would do it, what I would plan out. So I would definitely have some sort of plan and like overall goal of how you do it, because I think one thing that's important to do when you first start out is you don't just want to, make one piece of content, for that 1 month and then they don't see you again for 3 more months. It's kind of like going to be very hard to follow and get traction. So I think just having a plan of, your kind of consistency and like your set cadence of how often you want to post and different things like that is going to be very helpful in growing the platform and moving forward. But I think another thing too is really, just kind of slowing down as well and just taking it in of all the different people you're able to meet. I think that's one thing, starting it off, I was like, oh, this is going to be nice. Like, I'm going to meet some more people in the hobby. Like, I'm excited for that. But I don't think I realized how many people I would meet within the hobby, which is very exciting just because I was able to meet them, whether it be at card shows or, other in-person events, which I think has been super great to recognize as part of kind of like a benefit of doing content is you never really, I don't think you hardly go anywhere without at least knowing somebody's Instagram name or something like that. So I guess my advice is being, having a plan, being consistent, but also just kind of taking it all in and having fun meeting a bunch of different people.
I like the 1 week that we miss. Somebody gets on and talks about consistency, and we missed last week. Don't worry about Drake. I'm going to take care of Drake. We've already got him rescheduled. We worked around his schedule. Man.
I'm in no room to talk, though. I've been a little inconsistent here of late, so it just sometimes it gets hard just with other like life things going on. But I think, just like having a plan, as I said, I need to tell myself this. I need to set out a plan and just, stick to it. So
I could have been on fire somewhere in a ditch, and Courtney did not care. It was just hobby night school. And I know Courtney's mad because she doesn't, like, she hits the question mark on the message, like reiterating, like, where are you? What time are you going to be home? Not like, hey, I hope you're okay. I'm praying for your well-being. It's just hobby night school, question mark, question mark, question mark.
It was accurate. There's been a lot of times where he's like walked in as it's time to go live, so I just assumed that was what was going to happen. He didn't show up. Oh no. So every week on our hobby night school, we give away something, and we have our guests write down a number from 1 through 20 on a piece of paper, and then everybody in the comment section starts saying the numbers, and then we will give something away. So I just need you to get a piece of paper.
But it's whatever number you see.
First. So you write your number, and then on your end in the comment section is what you see, because everybody's thing is a little different.
And inevitably we get 59 messages saying they were first and that we missed it, so that way you can get some of the hate mail.
Uh-oh.
I kid.
Okay, I wrote down my
number. Okay. Yeah. So everybody in the comments, if you want a free slab, we're giving away a free slab PSA. Start commenting numbers 1 through 20. Whoever gets the right number gets the card. So 1 through 20.
All right, let's see.
It takes a second or two to start going, and then we do.
And inevitably, Frat Matt picks 13 12 times over.
He's 504 on here.
Oh, 504.
Drake.
I don't see it yet.
There's 13. You called it. 420.
Wrong show, brother. Wrong show.
Wow. I think it got skipped. Let's see. Still don't see it. Wow. This is no.
Drake's got the right idea.
Is it just going up?
Let's see. I still don't see it. Okay. First card's 21. The number was 5.
Right on.
All right, excellent. Slide into the DMs. This lovely Kobe White will be yours for free. We will ship it to you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome though. I like the giveaway and having the guests be involved too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like we always like to give stuff away, so that is something we regularly do. And then as soon as we jump off of here with you, we're gonna go live right away again to our gem, and we're giving away 6 downloads of Peter Pac-Man and
RPS,
their new album. We're going to be giving away 6 downloads of that and a Basketball Card Fanatic magazine immediately.
Wow. You guys are big time giving all the giveaways.
Not really.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's hurtful, man. It's like I do all sorts of stupid stuff that gets applauded. We get on and like give away like money that we earned, and then people tear us apart. Or more so Courtney's thumbs, but that's neither here nor there.
I have thumbs, I've learned. Through the hobby, I've learned that my thumbs are weird. So
but in all seriousness, we appreciate you jumping on. I know it's late. It was incredibly informative. I know I had Courtney taking notes, and some of those questions came from me. And, kudos to you. I hope that you inspire more people to kind of get out of their own comfort zone and take the leap of faith, because the hobby's a better place with people like you taking that jump.
Yeah. It was actually listening to you talk about how you were an introvert. And like me and Jeremy, like I feel like I'm probably a little more extroverted than he is, but it's easier when you have someone else to do it with.
Not a little, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So it's easier when you have someone else to do it with. You're not by yourself. And so for you to be like brave enough to do that, I think that's really just incredibly impressive. Aside from everything else, that alone is very impressive to me. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it a lot, guys. It as I said, it means a lot, really, just to hear kind of, all these kind words, really. So I really appreciate it. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys too for letting me come on and kind of share a little bit about my experience. I'm no expert by any means in the content game or whatever, but I do enjoy it, and I think it's a fun way to just meet people like this and build more of a community and positivity within the hobby as well.
I think that's important, though. I think a lot of people are intimidated to do anything because they perceive everybody as like these know-it-alls, and it's like there's a lot of us that aren't at that point. There's a lot of us that are in between. And I would have loved for somebody to have been like mid-level when I first got in, so that I could like learn some of the stuff that we had to painfully learn through spending lots of money.
Yeah. And Drake got on here and said, my 5-year-old daughter is watching with me and was excited seeing you. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, that's like we said in the beginning, that's what it boils down to, is like the younger girls and generation just seeing, other women who are involved and hoping that they think they can get involved too and enjoy it as much as we do now.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a great night. Thank you again.
We appreciate you, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.